Hello all, and welcome to TFC Live. This is Season 3, Episode 3. It's the January 18 post-raid review and BP game update, including the FM. Quickly, I'll say hello, admins. Hi, Robin.
Hi, mate.
Ladies first, obviously. And George. Good evening, mate.
Evening, guys.
I know Liam's going to pop in a bit, so he'll pop back in. Ren, unfortunately, is working late. He's got something going on. And I believe, remember rightly, I'm pretty sure it's Brian is now at work. I think he's finished his coursework, which was last year, and I think he's actually got a proper job now. So if I'm wrong, but I think that's the case. Anyway, I'll just say hi to everybody in the live chat there. Welcome. Okay, thanks for all your comments so far, and we will try and keep an eye on that. Moderating in chat tonight, Ford's in there, which is nice. I'm not sure if anybody else is at the moment, but I can see Ford commenting because he really enjoys doing that bit. Few slides tonight, quite a few things to talk about. We'll go straight into them, and we'll take a quick look at what's available for us. Now, although the release is coming in a certain form, I've actually moved it around a little bit because I think we've got some points that we want to sort of like expand on a little bit, and some things we can just go, well, there's a slide. I'll post them up later on, and then you can have them on the page, and then you can just download them at your leisure and look at them in slow time. So it's all there for you. So let me just share these, and we'll crack straight on. Okay, title slide as per usual. So that's our content for tonight. It seems like quite a lot, but actually it's not horrendous. Some of the things are interesting, but it's not horrendous. Right, first one is obviously, as we always do at the after a raid, is a bit of a review. So we've got a bit of a splash screen there, so just out of interest, get your mind thinking about what was available and what wasn't available. And we'll move to the first one, and I'll hand you over to Robin. Robin.
Hey. Okay. Just a couple of overview things. First off, the graphics were awesome. The art department really rocked on this. We also had some really interesting graphics in the targets with respects to did we ever figure out, are they drones or UAVs?
I have no idea. I'm going with Ren's floater idea.
Airborne floater things, because torps can't
little floating bats or whatever they were. Anyway, they were really cool. The art department did really good on these. The targets were exciting, and it wasn't kind of just hitting buildings that weren't doing anything. You could use one fleet if we wished. Did not have to have both fleets completed. You were still able to get points from the targets with just the one. We had multiple target types and layouts. The interesting part was there was you're not locked into a single path. If you were paying attention, there were some targets where you could actually go in and go around and attack things differently. And I think this is George's line here, siege raid, where you can basically go in and blow stuff up, and we weren't running from ships halfway across the screen.
I did for that, I have to say.
Yeah.
I knew you'd laugh.
I didn't know this was still in here.
Oh my.
Oh my gosh. And I don't know who the player was that posted it, but I thought this was kind of funny. The Kixeye damage adjustment control console. I thought this was rather interesting, where we have the damage button, the doom button, the countermeasure effectiveness button, and the really important secret thing unknown to all players that causes extra unknown damage.
I loved it, and I just had to add that little picture of that woman going, what? And that's me in the corner of the little bird going, I don't get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe funny.
Yeah. Okay. Tier 7 targets. Size and time to complete was much improved. We weren't sitting there, and just for those that are not converted over yet, because I get confused sometimes, Tier 7 was the old A sets. We weren't in the situation last raid where it would take like 8 minutes to go ahead and prep a single skirmish target or complete a single skirmish target. I'm not sure about everybody else. Yes, I was knocking these out in like 2 to 3 minutes, depending on how well I drove and how much damage that I took. With that, you were also able to grind out a lot of points given seat time. Obviously, takes longer and it is coin free, but players were able to go ahead and do that, and it wasn't a situation where it was like all or none. And they also reduced the damage, much like they have done in the past in the 69 and the 89 blitz towards the end of the raid.
This time I feel they actually did do that as well. I actually did notice the percentage of difference, I must admit. When normally I'd go, I can't tell the difference. So I went back in with an ironclad feet just to see, and I did actually notice a slight reduction. Only a slight, but it was definitely there.
Yeah. The targets, they kind of missed it a little bit on this. They weren't balanced as well as they have been in previous targets or in previous raids. There seemed to be a bit of a disconnect with fleets and the primary fleet versus, or the skill fleet versus the auto fleet. You know, in this raid, the ironclads did very, very well. The canoes, though, failed miserably, and that also included the canoes that players bought using the time-limited offers, which is a little bit frustrating. There were some players that actually purchased these and then took them into targets, and I think we did a test where it was like 6 hours damage, or for and that was at half repair for a level 61 target. So that was very frustrating for players, especially ones that bought the fleet. So I was very happy that people were able to go ahead and use their ironclads and grind out points. There were actually a lot of players that at the higher level who didn't have buckies that were finished enough to be able to hit the tier 7 or the A targets, and those also failed somewhat and faltered in the lower target. So their only option was to cough up the seat time and go out there and grind a whole lot of lower targets.
Do we know exactly why they faltered in the lower ones?
Not exactly.
Was it armor or?
No,
from what I heard, it was a damage thing. And I'm not sure if it was because the repair times are not all that far off. It was just that the buckies did not seem to perform as well, and it was cheaper, quicker, and easier for them to just auto with ironclads.
Yeah. Hey, Liam. How you doing, mate?
Hi, sorry for being late.
That's right. Slide yourself to your right of fraction, or move your camera.
Yeah, and then there was a big disparity between the mechanics of the higher targets. And a credit to George for catching this. In the tier 7, which is the A set, we had rad damage. If you drove into the red rings of pain, it was causing rad damage. But whereas if you were in the elite target, it was sucking up all of your charged armor. And so there's going to be an issue with that when it comes to people that, generally people have half a fleet, they run the A sets, and then, as they finish their fleet or should be finishing up their fleets now, they're going to jump into an elite set and the damage is going to be completely different. And I'm going to punt this to you, George. Do you want to talk about this?
I mean, I can understand why they made the S target, very niche, because that's how they did it last time as well. But in the last raid set, you could transition from one to the other and not have, you wouldn't need an actual full build change. And I'm not sure that was intended. I don't know if anyone caught that, but when you go into the S target, the LA3 combo worked much better than when you go into the A target. You needed that CL3 one. I'm not sure. And the thing is I guess if you didn't have to drive into a lot of the rings, if you drove really, really well, I don't know that it would make too much of a difference. But the problem is when you're doing, how many of these? Hundreds of them?
Yeah.
You're gonna mess up, right? So if you have one build to the other, and I think that the biggest problem isn't so much that, it's that if you started out doing, building for that A set, and then you want to, graduate into the S target, you're getting an extra refit that you're gonna have to do, because you're not going to be able to do the build for the A set does not transition well into the S target at all. I don't know that you can mitigate it with driving.
Yeah, I have the CL3 and started with one charged and then burned raid tokens and switched over to the second charged. And I was watching you guys with all your fancy driving and fancy videos, and I couldn't do it. By the time I got to the end, even with retreating and such, it was just far too much damage for me, and so I switched over to the tier 7 targets.
Frustrating. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Okay.
A couple of things that were not the best with the raid. First off was the reduced points on the elite targets. I want to say, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, I know at the end raid it was 5 million per set, but I think we started at 4 million for the individual target. Is that correct on the
I thought it was 4, 4, and 3.
Yeah, 4, 4, and 3 for the 4, 4,
Yeah.
and 2, 4, 4, and 2, or something like that. And then by the end of the cycle, it was 5, 5, and 2, or something like that. But the points did drop from whatever it was down to 3 million, which of course meant that you had to do more targets. And if you were spending a lot of time in it, then that also included, additional time for that. And then there was.
I'm sorry, I just want to point out that it was only a 4-day raid, whereas in the 6-day one, you can kind of go, if it was flipped the other way around, you go, well, it's 6 days, yeah. Instead, we had a cut to the points and a cut to the days. So I don't, I'm not sure if there was a point to that. Like, I don't know if it was a balance thing or not.
Yeah, and that's something I think they really need to look at. Although, okay, lower targets, you only have to do one. But when the points requirement for all of the points that you need in order to get all of the stuff, so if we're, honest, charged armor is not a luxury. You have to have it. So, we could only get 10 last time. So that's 2 pieces on 5 ships. And now you've got the second ship, and then you've got the rad armor, and so you have to get all of that. And then you're looking for the flagship for the hull that you need, and the one that you want. And so I think we were at they figured it out. It was just shy of 260 million for all required prizes, excluding all of the generalist stuff.
I think I hit like 300 and something, and I got everything, but I was in the 300s. I do want to. You actually pointed something out, and I don't know if we covered this later on, but they throttled the amount of that charged armor that is not a luxury anymore. And I'm looking at it, and if it's 5 of the R's per month, right, and there's no other outlet or avenue to get these things, we're not finishing hull. We're not finishing, both fleets until after the last raid of this set, because that's only going to give us 20 of them total.
Yeah.
That's what I worked out as well. Like, I'll have enough to finish Hydras. Then the third raid, you'll get the first set for your Buckies, and fourth and final raid, I'll have the last set needed. So they really need to try and distribute these armors before then in some kind of TLC, and not locked behind a TLC that no one can do. Yeah,
and the thing is it's also going to depend very much on your build on how many you need. So
yep.
I don't know. I mean, so you're essentially each raid. So right now you only have 5 for the next raid, which is raid number 2. For raid number 3, you're only going to have 10 available. I mean, I'm not sure exactly where that, like, I don't know if that's like another mechanic to try and keep us in a sandbox. I don't know if it's something to try and keep the targets balanced. I don't know what it is, but I really dislike that feeling that, hey, you know what? I know for a fact I'm not having both of my fleets done until after the raid, if I have enough at all, because I don't build normal. So,
well, and where do you put it? Which one gets the priority? If I've started Hydras and my expectation is that I'm going to have Hydras via the next raid, do I have to put it on my Hydras, or do I need to put it on my Buckies to mitigate the rad if I'm running the tier 7s? I mean, we're stuck with 5 pieces of armor and essentially 10 hulls. So hopefully.
And that actually is going to make every player decide, hey, what are you going to... I mean, you're going to have to bet on one of these hulls now. And then we have the transition at the end of that 4 months to TLCs and map targets. So which one do you bet on? Because like I bet on the Buckies. Like that's where I'm going, because that's what I've invested in. And now the catch is I'm not going to have Hydras, not the way that I want them done, by the end of the last raid.
I think that's a catch-22, mate. I mean, I started off with Buckies, and I could do the S target in the Buckies, no problem at all. But then I built 2 Hydras, and I switched to the Hydras, and then I completed my raid easier with the Hydras.
Right, but
are we going to see the same next term?
I don't know. You can't recommend, because we just don't know. So
yeah, well, I mean, the catch is though is that if you want to switch from the Buckies to the Hydras, say you invested, like I'm at the Buckies. If I want to switch to the Hydras now, I either have to coin to catch them up for the next raid, right, or I just go all in with the Buckies. And then the catch is, do I have enough time to get the Hydras done by the time the TLCs roll around? And then do I have the stuff that I need for it? I mean, it's just, it makes me very unknown.
Yeah, go back to my original thing of 1 S target, both fleets can do it.
Oh, that would be nice.
I am really, really suffering right now because of that issue, but from last month's cycle.
Yeah, you haven't got fangs, have you now? And there's a certain TLC out now, which we're going to come to in a minute, and you just can't do it.
I'm looking forward to talking about that actually, because that's kind of why I was late as well, because I was actually in that TLC. Just I didn't realize it would take so long. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was the last target. Then, so.
Okay.
Move on.
So moving on to damage, and I know it's a fine line to walk between too much damage, not enough damage, and all the stuff, associated stuff that goes with it. But the first cycle of targets has to be tuned to what the average player is going to have, and what the majority of the players have. Ren put a post up on the page where he, what fleet are you going to have? Half-finished buckies, full buckies, some hydras, not all hydras, that type of stuff. The majority of the people, which was unusual this time, I had to use my raid tokens and purchase a couple of extra tokens just to get my buckies finished, and I wasn't wasting shipyard time. And I know there were a lot of people that were also in that situation where if you were getting the standard 2-in-1 token, you weren't able to completely finish the fleet. And so I would have liked to have seen the targets tuned a little bit better to where this is what the majority of the people have. Yes, there'll be people that may have a full fleet and may be better, but if a player is reduced to having to run ironclads because they can't do the targets, then that's very frustrating for them. As well as having to put extra time in. And the other thing that was very concerning with this raid was the whole multiple retreats to charge the armor, and especially when you're not using a fully decked out fleet just to stay alive. That doesn't make it fun for people. And that goes back to the time thing. If I could do a tier 7 A set in the same amount of time for a little bit extra points that it took me to go in and out and do the hokey pokey on the S set, why would I even bother taking my hull into that S set?
Yeah, a very good point. And a lot of people decided not to do that. They stepped down a level, didn't they? And they found actually the reduced damage. They could do more multiples and that sort of stuff, and stay in the game longer as well. So
yeah, I think part of that goes back again to what we said earlier, is that it needed a completely different build.
Yeah, that could be to it. But even, I know towards the end you were able to come up with a really good build that was able to auto it, and I know that there were other players that could as well. But when 99% of the player base has to do the in and out, then that's something that needs to be considered. Because when I hear a player that spent 57 hours grinding a raid because they had to use ironclads because their fleets weren't completely built, or because they had to stop for 4 hours, then that's an issue.
I totally agree.
Yep.
Okay, happy to move on.
Okay. We had some bugs. The first one, of course, was the incorrect target payout on the Hydra target that led to some very interesting points values very early in the raid. The biggest concern with this is obviously it wasn't intentional, but Kix froze all of the targets, and then there was a post that was put into the forums, and then there was a post at the edge of at the top of the page that was saying not to hit the targets. If you were playing in full screen, you had no idea that this was going on, and there were multiple people that were in comms that were saying, I'm not getting points, that kind of stuff. So, it would be helpful if something like that happens, if one of those red messages could pop up in the game.
That would make a huge, because that has happened before. The game's about to update in 10 minutes and that sort of stuff. It should come up in comms chat, not at the top of the screen. And also, if you're on the Facebook games room, you can't see those messages at the top of the screen. It's not possible.
Yeah, it is.
And I solely play on games room, smoother.
Yeah, less adverts, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, so you cannot see those pop-up messages anyway, so you have no idea. So a point to take away I'm sure Radio was in the chat there, I saw him, so that's something to take away as well. Those messages cannot be read. It's the same color of text as what their surround is, so it just says there's something up there, but you've no idea what it is. Anything else on this slide? Sorry. Yes, there is. Sorry.
George?
George, you got those 2 points if you want to.
Did we lose George?
His comms have gone down, I think.
Georgie boy.
I definitely haven't muted him, I promise you.
Well,
at this key
I'll
point.
start it. Obviously, his mic's not working.
see the issue with the Siege battery. I mean, I had Siege battery fitted on my Hydras, and it wasn't something I was aware of. But then I didn't try the FLCS either, so I don't have a weight of comparison. But I run Siege battery 3. Was it announced that it was an issue on Siege battery 3 and 4, or was it just 4? Or?
See, I don't know, because I mean, on the Hydras, I only had 2, and they were mirror image, and both of them had the same Siege battery 4. On my Buckies, I had 1 with the FLCS, and the other 3 had Siege battery 4. But to be honest, the charge armor, when I was going to the S target with the retreat right, I was just retreating so quickly, 4 or 5 times in each of the targets. I didn't actually get to look at that. I was too flapping about the charge armor.
Yeah,
So I never had to continue.
I did see it. I was running Siege Battery 4 as well as Siege Targeting 4 on 3 hulls, and then on the 4th hull I had the frontline countermeasure. And after it was brought up, I actually started checking on a couple, and it varied depending on whether it was which of the 80s target that it was. But at some point on some of them, there was about 2,000 health points difference between the one had 2,000 health points less damage on the front line than it did on the Siege battery. Obviously, it's been brought up. I know that Kix is aware of it. They have come back and said that they're aware of it and they're working on it. So hopefully we'll see that corrected here soon, and that will get taken care of, and hopefully sooner rather than later.
Yeah, very much so. But the raid in chat says it happened actually and started before the raid started as well. So it wasn't just in that. Obviously, difficult to work out because a lot of people do a lot of base hitting at the moment. So that's where you see it, obviously, because it's obviously a turret protection thing. So
yep.
But apparently it happened before the raid commenced. Okay.
And then, communication from Kickside, there's a couple things that are involved in this, and hopefully George will come back so he can do the technical stuff. There was a post that was on GDA's page, I think it was, about the previews and, looking at the tactical fields and systems and thinking that, shielded tactical systems would be beneficial for the raid. First off, it's kind of hard to expect the players to identify that and think about that when the preview was, a couple 3 days or a week before the raid, when people pretty much have their build set. And then when you're talking about a special that is 2 days to put on, and also is a special that hasn't been available for 2 years or a year and a half, then that causes issue. And then it was also added to the prize list. And so what this did was that this kind of inferred that the shielded tactical systems was going to be the bee's knees in the targets, or some of the targets, and that turned out not to be the case. Now, my understanding is that there were some issues. And George, do you have your mic?
Does it work? Can you hear me?
There he is. Okay.
Damn. All right.
We're on the Siege targeting system. I know it affected some hulls and then some targets. Can you speak to that?
It actually, I think, I'm not 100% sure, but I think what had happened was the retro wasn't working. And someone actually asked me later on, was the CL3 retro working? And that kind of brought up other questions. For right now, I believe that it got sent up to QA after some weird testing that we did on, I think, Monday, I don't know. And they found something. CS was notified. People started getting tickets that there was something. I don't know exactly what it is yet, though. My guess is that the retro isn't being applied, but the numbers for the damage don't quite fit that when you try and do it out, which is why someone asked, what about the CL3 then? Or is it all retros? Or I have no idea, honestly. We're all still waiting to get some sort of information about it, but I believe... are we on the STS? I'm sorry. You should have interrupted me.
No, that's okay. I want to let you fit. You had the information, but...
For the STS, what had happened was they were trying to, do you want that part, like why it was doing that in the S target, or because I just jumped in? So
the difference between the targets. So we talked about the inferred use and that kind of stuff, but I know you were talking last night. I think it was there was a difference between it worked well on one target on one hull, but not on the other, and not on the other target.
Yeah, so in the Bucky S target, what they had done for tuning, which is kind of slick from a programming side, unless this happens. It was like, I guess the left hand didn't talk to the right hand, but what they had done was they added a field, a map-wide field in the S target to help buff our ships, so we wouldn't take as much damage so we could complete the S targets, right? And it was a tuning method, and that would have been fine if people didn't use STS, because what happens when you put a tactical field, resistance when you're in a field that's actually benefiting you, it does worse, right? And that's what happened in the S. So the STS worked fine in the A's. I believe Ren, when he was testing it, said he was only getting about 10% difference, though, so he wasn't sure it was worth the 2 days. So there was no negative deleterious effect in the A sets. It didn't hurt the Hydras. The only effect and the only time it actually was a bad combination was on the Buckies in the Bucky S target. That was it. And I'm not sure. I think they're trying to take that out now and tune it a different way and stuff. But I'm like, again, I don't know what the deal is, because looking at the Bucky, you'd have to give up something to put the STS on. So I don't know if that was even tuned for the Bucky or if that was meant for the Hydra. I have no idea. And we just saw the new one in the FM, so I'm confused.
And cheaper
As
half the price.
are a lot of us. Yeah,
I mean, I'm confused. I've no idea.
I took my route and stuck with it, and that may bite me in the rear end later on. But I know there were some players that actually A, coined it, and B, spent tokens and time to put it on. So it's rather disappointing that the inference was there and it didn't work as well as it should have across all of the targets.
Yeah, do you know one of my afterthoughts before we close on that slide, just a small one, is if siege battery wasn't working and if shield attack wasn't working, most people's fleets were doing this raid for free. It's kind of like, I don't know. I mean, I obviously we'd never want things not to be working, but I mean, if we're able to raid for free with them not working, then what's it going to be like when they are working?
Well, I mean, if we take a step back, is this the last slide on the Zoe's Gamble?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. I mean, here's the thing. If you take because all the crap that was messed up, I mean, there was a lot of crap messed up. But if you actually putting that aside, if they actually worked the way they were supposed to work, I mean, I actually enjoyed my Buckies after they were semi-done. I mean, they're not done. I know what I want to do to them, and I put that in the blog. But I actually enjoyed. I had fun with them. I could auto, which is what I wanted to do, because I'm outside or I'm in the shop and I'm doing something. I can take the phone and I can auto some damn targets, right? The problem is that there were so many things that went wrong, and there were so many things that we weren't, like, there was no communication about it either, which made everything worse. We're humans. I mean, human nature is you got to have a lot more good than bad, because we always concentrate on the bad. And honestly, there was some really bad stuff. Like the STS and the siege battery things really are serious. I mean, that should have gotten addressed. Like when they first found out, the siege battery thing was in the forums a week at least before the raid.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, mate, key components, and those are key components. It's almost like saying, you're going into the wrong S target with a ship, and all of a sudden it doesn't fire, and no one tells us.
Oh, that was crazy. I have no idea what the hell that was. And then
just knock us out the target. Just say this one cannot go in this target.
Yeah. Why not?
Not go and take punitive damage, and you can't fire back.
Well, more importantly, it wasn't just. I mean, I can understand the prevention, and yes, it should have been blocked with the Hydra in the Bucky's target, and vice versa. More critical to that, and more important, is that the Zealous wasn't firing in the A sets. Now, the Zealous is a generalist hull. It's supposed to work for siege. It has siege stats. You're supposed to be able to use it. People have them with cannons on all the time, and people were taking real damage from their Bucky's not firing and the Zealous not firing, and there was just no. There was no, they actually did update the notes to reflect the Bucky and the Hydra issue, but they never actually came out and spoke about, and people are still waiting for answers on why wasn't the Zealous working.
And I have a question, because I can't quite remember. I didn't get a chance to hop on initially, but for some reason, I don't remember that being in the notes when they came out. I thought the raid had started.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, the raid had
wasn't. It was an
started.
update.
There was that mess up in the Hydra target, and that was their correction, right?
Nobody has formally come out and said that, and that's
Still, yeah.
yeah.
I'd like
still,
to. I mean, yeah, I'd like to know why are we not finding these things out? Like, I don't understand.
yeah.
Discovery
There were a lot of
method is not a good
people.
method when you're investing time and money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when you lose your fleet. I mean, I lost a Bucky fleet because I went in and I was like, okay, what is everyone talking about? Because I couldn't figure out what the hell's going on. I was like, I'll just go see what the hell's going on. I went in, I lost the whole Bucky fleet. I'm like, why are they not firing? I had no idea.
Yeah, I saw someone thinking it was a range issue, so he crashed the target, and he didn't matter how close he got to a turret, it didn't fire. So
Yeah, my blue one. Now, see, this was the weird thing though, is when I was in there, the blue shot for the Bucky did fire on those round warehouse type thingamabobs. I don't know what the hell they were, but that's the
things, yeah.
only thing that it fired, and the regular cannon didn't. Just the blue shot fired on that. It was the weirdest thing, and I was like, "Oh, this is a weird glitch," right? And I was playing full screen, right? So I came out, I did some stuff, I tried it a second time, and this time I was smart enough to just turn around when it didn't fire and came out. And I didn't know for a good like half an hour. When I got out of full screen, I was like, "Oh, well, that's interesting."
Well, and the other thing was is that what was one of the prizes in the raid? It was a new generalist hull. So is that going to be blocked in the A-sets if somebody's chosen to take that route?
Well, surely not. I mean, that's a point of contention. I mean, we'll sort of cover the points on this thing here, and we just have a little summary. I've got a blank slide for a couple of summary points, and I've got two I want to bring up.
Yep. So lastly, on the prizes, as already mentioned, only 5 charged red armor, which is going to be a problem. The armor being locked, hopefully, we talked about this before. There's no real reason for it to need to be locked. Just put it out there where the players can get it and use it. Lower players also need the lower holes to actually begin to compete, and the lower holes were in the lower redemption tree. If a player couldn't complete the ironclad TLC, and they're a newer player or they're a returning player or they're trying to catch up and they didn't have the ironclads or the cannoneers, those were the first 2 prizes, but those prizes were actually needed to be able to get to where they could claim those holes. And I believe, George, you're working on coming up with a build based on some of the stuff in the FM.
Yeah, I'm trying to go through the FM and see what's available in just the FM and come up with something that people could possibly grind out at the very low end so they could get the ironclad or something, or some part of that tree in the next raid. But I'm not entirely hopeful at this point. I'm trying though. I am.
Yeah, so we get that. We'll update that. There were some good things in the prize list. I know a lot of players snapped on this. The Hope and the associated specials were available for a very low amount, although it would have been nice if they had been somewhat even in the price. The HVR was available in the prize list, and for those that if it happens again and you don't have it, this bad boy works on just about anything that spits anything out. So don't think that it's just a requirement for the Siege raid. Works on launchers, works on just about anything there is out there.
I love that special.
Yep,
even a Far East Showgirl. Yep.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite ones. And then they also had the CL3 available in the prize list. So those are 2 things, and they were reasonably priced. They were, I think, manageable for folks that did have a fleet that could grind 40s. Those were available.
Yeah, out of curiosity, because you mentioned the CL3 right in the prize list. Was that always in the FM? Because I noticed it was in the FM prizes today when I was poking through the FM prizes looking for the build stuff. And
I don't think it was. It used to be, then it was taken out.
Oh, good. So they added it back in then. Okay, that's good.
Yes. I don't know when, if it was prior to the raid, but I know there was a period where it wasn't available.
Okay, good.
Okay. Right. Happy? Yeah?
Yep.
Good. Oh, there's one more.
Oh, okay.
Wait.
Some of the changes. Of course, everybody is aware of it, that the charged armor was nerfed immediately prior to the raid. Players were awarded points for each panel that they had already had on a constructed hull. So if you had 3 Buckies with a single piece of charged armor, you got 1.5 million points somewhere along in the raid. Although the charges weren't changed to reflect that reduction of the charged armor, and that's kind of where we were going with the in and out hokey pokey. That didn't really help. One option that I think it was Ren that came up that might have been a better solution was to reduce the damage reduction amount but leave the pool, so there were less forced retreats from the target. So it didn't change the damage, but it stopped you from having to do all of those timed out, in and back out again.
That'd have been a dream. That would have been brilliant. Yeah.
That would have been much. I mean, even if they did it temporarily for just the raid, because, just saying.
Yeah.
That was a good solution.
Yeah. Continued frustration. We've seen this a lot over the last year, and hopefully we're working towards better communication and better testing. That it isn't half frustrating when you get something and then afterwards it changes. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think making any kind of change that close to a raid is just not really wise, regardless of how that. Even if the armor itself they felt was overpowered for the targets and people were going to get a cheap raid, they should have, I think, maybe just took the hit on that themselves and not changed the armor until after the raid. I think changing it just before the raid was quite possibly the worst solution to the problem. They should have just put the hit.
They should have just taken it in the shorts for one raid. I think we said that over the weekend. I'm not sure, but yeah, I mean, just for, I mean, because of the amount of items that were on the oops table, just for that.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. That's okay. That's good. So yeah, we got the block targets bit. We got the zealous jamming, that sort of stuff. Frustrating communication. Yeah, really annoying. One more, Rue.
Yep, and it was a good thing and could be an even better thing. Because of the issues with the raid, the armor, and participation and whatever drove this, they got rid of the level lock on the lower targets based on base level. And so this actually made the raid doable for a lot of players. There were people that were dead in the water and would have had to have grind for 100 hours instead of 57 hours, which is bad in itself. But this actually made it to where people could actually do the raid. And so by removing that level lock, I really think it's something that they need to look at permanently, because we all know that I could have a level 80 base and a level 40 fleet, or I could be a level 100 that hasn't been in the game for a while and I could have a level 40 fleet. So base points penalty or base point penalty reduction based on your base level is an out-of-date mechanic and no longer counts. So there should be a way that they can actually incorporate this without dinging the higher level players who are trying to catch up, or newer players that are coming into the game, who we all know that when you build things now, especially with OP10 and oh my gosh, if you do your walls, you jump like 9 levels, not to be penalized for this. And so these were some things that, and I wish Ren were here because this was his idea. Some kind of an example, like for this raid, let's say I'm a player base level 95. If I've got a full fleet of Bucky with charged armor, and if I'm going to go play in the tier 6 targets, then obviously I should take a points reduction because, I've got the fleet to do the bigger targets. If I've got a partial fleet that has some charged armor, then maybe a prorated points penalty. If I've got a full or a partial Bucky fleet with no charged armor, then I would not incur a points penalty. And then obviously, even if I was a level 9,000, if I'm using an ironclad fleet because that's all I have, then I wouldn't get a points reduction, based on my base level. And so, again, these were Ren's ideas, but this was kind of something that he threw out there.
The whole thing is an antiquated system. I don't even know that you want to make it that complicated. I mean, why don't you just go, look, if you've got the fleet, you got the time, you want to grind, go and grind, that's fine. And instead of doing it that way, go, hey, if you're going to use, say, an IC fleet, which is what, tier 5 and a tier 6 target, you're going to get a bonus instead.
I think that the fleet level should be what dictates. I mean, they should have the game designed in a way that if you run out for the level, say you've got Hydras, they're level 100 fleet. Say you've got Ironclads, level 50 fleet. Level 50 fleets can hit any target for bonus points. Level 100 fleets can hit normal targets or lower targets for reduced points. I mean, if it was all tailored off the fleet level, it would just eliminate everything, and it would be fluid.
But the thing is a lot of this happened because we used to not have enough targets spawning, right? That has not been the case for months and months, hell, for a year now at least. They've fixed the whole spawning issue on the map for targets and all that crap. So why do we even bother with this? It's not like because back in the day it would be you'd take out your HHAs or whatever and you'd go and just farm like every single thing on the map and no one would have a target to hit during the raid. and that's how this whole thing started. But now you could do that, and there's enough targets on the map that you could still find targets. You know what I mean? The whole idea is antiquated, and I don't know why they continue to do it. It's not even needed anymore.
Does anyone remember the raid when the targets would come flying out of the Drake base? Does anyone remember it? It was a complete madness, and you had to hit, like, there was 50 targets, and you had to go 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. Do you remember that?
You had to run all over your sector looking for the numbers. Everyone's shouting out in comms. Have you seen a 64? Sorry, a 54?
Oh, the 1 to 50. Oh yeah, I hated that. Oh,
and the way they spawned out of the Drake base, like every hour, you just see them dashing across the map.
Did you remember you have to have a paper written down next to your keyboard, and you could just go, right, I've done 360.
Yeah.
12 5s, that sort of stuff. Right? Has anybody got any of these? You just grab them and stack them. You know.
Yeah. Somebody just reported something in the side chat, and I did forget to put this on. And a lot of people may not be aware of this, and it's half made harder because of the locator. If you look at the locator, and even if you look at it today, and even in the raid, it will only show you the closest targets to your base based on the number. So if you're looking for 40s, it will show you the 240 targets that are closer to your base. If you actually scroll over, there are more than 2 targets in the sector. They're just not going to show up on the locator. And so twofold, it gives you the ability to go look for them, but nobody has time to sit there and fight with somebody else to get there. So it would be nice if Kix could expand that locator out a little bit, or do it like they did in the past, where your mouse was and you click there and then you hit the locator, that shows the targets that were nearest to you. Because there was a lot of people that were in comms, have you seen a 63, have you seen a 40, and I would show them up on my locator, but they weren't showing up on theirs.
I think we talked in the past, especially when we were talking about bounty, to have the locator world based and randomized. That way, I mean, they could do that for an entire sector, or for 3 sectors for the raid, and the bounty one do, for the entire world. I mean, I don't know what the hang up is on the locator, but I hope that they look at that. I really do.
Yeah, it's good. Look, for me, from the raid, love the targets, thought they were amazing, that sort of stuff. Generally, the visuals, that sort of stuff. Hardly any lag. You didn't have to refresh too often, that sort of stuff. Poor communication, poor QA. Simple as that. We don't want to know what damage the target's kicking out. We know it's a siege raid. We should get that. You haven't got to disclose what the target does and that sort of stuff. We'll discover that. But if you're going to do a change on us, a hot swap, or whatever you're going to do, let us freaking know. If you're not going to let Buccaneers go into a certain target with a Zealous in behind it, which is a generous hull, let us freaking know. Don't let's discover the expensive way. Don't block a ship out of a target, an S target, by not letting it fire. Don't freaking let it in there. That's
just misleading. That's encouraging players to go in there.
It's downright sneaky. It's downright disgusting, in fact. That's not how to look after your people that are paying your wage. But apart from that, I love the targets. I enjoyed the raid. I invested early, and I got a great return from my investment. Low levels could play the game because they had ironclads from the previous raid series that bloody well worked. So there's a lot of positive, but they made some stupid mistakes that
I think they missed
a good start to the year.
Yeah, I think they missed a very, very big opportunity because, like I said, when you take all the little stuff that was busted away, the raid itself, if you had the right, if you got the build right, which would have been nice for information, that's one of those things. But if you got the build right, you had fun in the raid, right? Even you could even grind it if you had ironclads. The cannoneers were a little bit, but again, they missed, I think, a really big opportunity because the raid itself, once you were set, was pretty good.
It was that, yeah. I mean, I adjusted myself literally by Thursday evening. I knew what I was going to do. I looked at it. I sussed out both sets of targets. Yeah, I advanced. I even did a little raid stream to people doing 40s and 60s, the 41 and the 60s. I took my ironclads out. I did a little stream on that so I can make sure that could be done without adjusting my fleet at all from last year. And I was like, okay, so they can do it now. And then I looked in the thing and went, hang on a minute, actually, if you haven't got that, and you were talking about punishes, I know you were, George, how do you get onto the tier to get anything at all? Because I don't think you get any prize at all without ironclads and, God forbid, the cannoneers, but you know, maybe then you're not ready to raid if you haven't got those, and that's disrespectful for the very, very low levels. But you know, raiding is the last thing after FM. You know, we always say about progression in the game and raiding, and then bounty sort of stuff. You know, but yeah, in general, you spoilt your own start to 2018 in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you guys. I think you know, the raid in itself was a very good raid. There was great aspects to the raid. It was a great first raid in the cycle. You know, normally the first raid in the cycle is the iffy one. But unfortunately, because of the technical issues with the specials and obviously changing the C right before the event, it just overshadowed it. It overshadowed them getting a pat on the back. You know what I mean? Exactly what you said. The problems they had ruined a great opportunity to have a great raid.
I mean, they could have softened the whole entire thing if someone came out and actually communicated with the community too. Because I'll tell you, one of the things that really annoyed me at the very beginning, I think Rue, you mentioned, you know, the in and out thing, right? My very second hit is the first video that I made, right? And I went and got all my tokens. I refit everything on the Buccaneers, spent a little bit of gold, yes. And within that day, I was autoing the targets, right? I didn't put anything out. I was pissed off. I literally walked away from the game for a day before I came back and started raiding again. And the thing is I kind of felt a little bit cheated because I expect those tokens to get me ahead, not catch me up for a raid, especially when I had already invested in a build and everything else, you know? And I think that's part of what kind of boiled over into some of the Buccaneer thing with the people that were doing the S targets, because you had to go in and actually take the tokens that you had in raid and use them just so you could do the raid the way that you wanted. I mean,
I did,
I think flag's not going to be done because of that. You know, normally, normally my FM targets plus my raid targets gets my flag out before VXP, and me and a lot of other people are not going to be there.
Put everybody behind, which is really kind of crummy.
I think if maybe, you know, the CM or someone from Kicks communicated with us throughout the event. I mean, the issues that we received were obviously quite concerning issues and quite severe issues, and there should have been maybe a post on the forum, you know, something to publicly address us and say, you know, this is going on, we're unsure. But the fact that we had the complete silence, I think, is what made the situation escalate worse. And even at the end of the raid, like on Monday, Rampage should have been on that forum, said, look guys, this went on, we're that, you know, there should have been something, because it seems that the information most people have has just come from CS tickets, and that's not right. There should be a lot better communication going on than that.
I mean, CS didn't even know about some of this stuff until days after, you know, we had proven it in testing, you know.
Okay, I mean, look, we know there was huge disparity in what was coming from one area and what was coming out of another area. I just want them to fix it and put it right for next time. And then hopefully we'll have a much better session 2 of this 4 seasons sort of like siege raid. Please fix it. If you can't, let us know early, and we'll adjust accordingly. You know, will you adjust the targets? Anyway, let's move on. Right, just a bit of a refresher in the combat information centers, because for some people that haven't seen the previous shows or haven't raided because they didn't feel they could, just there's a slide that was basically talking. It was a really, really technical slide, so I've just made it really, really simple. So, breaking down the 4 different CICs, I do think we'll see them on more ships probably as we go through the year, but I'm not sure of that as yet. But you know, they're now on 2 ships already, so just bear in mind. So the capacitor itself is a damage dealer, but it reduces its own defenses. The hull, that is, you know, the Aegis one becomes a tank, great, but you it can't then kick out any damage itself. Okay, then. The Mercy one obviously becomes a healer, so think of it like a gluttony in some respects. Okay, but decreases its radioactive and ballistic damage, I'll say, by doing so. And obviously the CIC, you can chuck on that new chameleon, which I find very strange, the word generalist, when it's geared to siege targets only. So I don't see that as being general, but that's what they've called it. That one basically then turns it into a siege machine, apparently. So just thought we'd just clarify that. Nothing else to say on that slide, to be honest. But like I said, we'll put them up later on, just so you want to take them away in PDF format. VXP weekend, nothing changing really, apart from, yeah, there you go, start time, finish time, you know, the normal stuff. There's a 100 target out there. Obviously, it's always the start time up until 9 p.m. on the Saturday. That's obviously Kick's time. It's level 100. You cannot retreat. Bear that in mind. You cannot retreat. Okay. But if you manage to destroy it, then obviously you get the 3x Defender class VXP targets. So that's ideal. Sorry, the VXP tokens. So just bear that in mind. These are, different targets to the previous one. Siege-style targets, it says. Okay.
I wonder if they'll be the 120s.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's an interesting point.
They're going to be
interesting.
They're going to be the Hydra S target.
Yeah, see, and that's the thing I was going to say. You know, are they tuned to the Hydra or are they tuned to the Bucky?
Is there an eject button for this show?
You're going to need a full set of sea armor. They're going to be Hydra. I imagine they'll obviously be neutral. They're not going to do something similar.
So we can go in on both fleets and neither of them fire.
Yeah,
well,
I don't know that you can tune it neutrally.
Targets, but it was the Scrouge siege targets or Scourge siege targets.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how this is going to be done as gender free, gender fair between the two types.
It would be good. It would be good if they are siege targets based upon similar targets to the raid, because it gives people more chance to practice against the mechanics. So that would be a wise move. But I don't know. Maybe it wouldn't be a wise move if they can't tailor the ones you just faced right. Then maybe a week's not enough for them to do this one right.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, there you go. So just bear in mind, you can get some VXPs. So that's where the targets. I mean, don't just go and hollow them out and that sort of stuff. And if somebody is killing the one right next to you, then they're doing it for a reason. They want that defender. Don't slate them, because I saw a bit of slating going on in the sector, and I was like, the guy wants his defender tokens. You know, he's got shit.
Yeah. The other thing is too is, I mean, I want people to. I'm pretty sure last month, and I'm guessing this month, we don't get VXP for doing damage. Just saying. So if you can't kill it off, just leave it for someone that actually needs the defender tokens. But you're going to get VXP for dying.
Yeah. Kill yourself. Move on.
Kill yourself and move on.
Okay. Good. Well, not physically, literally. But
That's TFC's new motto. Kill yourself and move on.
Oh, man.
Eat shit and die. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Right. Okay. Liam, you can tell us all about this one.
Well, this is actually something I'm quite annoyed about, if I'm honest with you. I did try this TLC, which is why I was a bit late for the show. It was only on the first prize pack, and the first and second one went very smooth, but the third one did not go smooth. And I did stupidly actually take hunters in to see what it would be like, and it wasn't great. Let me tell you, it wasn't great. They died in like 2 seconds, the whole fleet. So yeah, so and my fangs, I purchased the fangs that Kickstarter were selling about 4 weeks ago, the fleet of 4. And either they're really shite or I'm really shite at driving, which is obviously not. or a blend of both.
I'll have a look for you
Are we
later.
going to have videos later?
But no,
Are you streaming that?
It's almost impossible. I had to
Do it.
In Prize Pack 3, I had to repair them twice, fully dead.
Hang on a minute. In chat, who wants to watch Liam stream using his subs?
So it cost me like 48 coins to do Prize Pack 3, and I've got a dead fleet of hunters in my base to show for it. So I'm not even like keen to look at Prize Pack 2, but I'm probably going to have to try and do it. I really at least want to try and get to Prize Pack 3. But my point here is, this is bullshit. Locking TLCs with what I would say is key content. You know, that new turret for your outpost, a new baser that may even give you a chance to do a bit of PvP again, and guess what? You can't take part in it because you didn't take part in last cycle. That's where I am, and that's where maybe many others are. I mean, what about all the players that decided to go with hunters last cycle?
And there are plenty in the high levels, you know, that are in that exact Pain Train. Remember we talked about Pain Train when Rainer came on? Exactly that same situation. Couldn't do this raid.
So what? This is what frustrates me. Why are they locking? Like, see, the Hydra campaign, that cost me a bloody fortune. Cost me an absolute fortune, and I didn't get Prize Pack 4, so I couldn't take any of the Charge C. I couldn't take any of the tokens. I only got to Prize Pack 3 in the Hydra campaign for the exact same issue. And this campaign is harder, in my opinion. It seems a lot harder, this campaign. So
that ties in the whole not enough armor thing too. How are we supposed to have everything with both sets of armor, because right after this is going to be the TLC where we need both fleets.
Yeah, and What the thing that I had said before, and it still holds true. I mean, this is that you're a perfect example of this. Why would you lock out your clients and customers? Why would you block them from having another avenue to pay you money? If I'm a company, I want my customers to have the opportunity to give me money, more money. But now I'm going, no, Liam, I don't want your money. You can't do this one. Just go do something else.
And let me tell you something, George. I don't have the last baser fleet I built was Rages, so I would be very keen to invest in a new base fleet right now.
And we had great
and you can't even do it though.
And I can't even get it to invest in it.
Yeah, see, that's insane.
And I you know, I didn't have Hunters built or Fangs built until about 2 weeks ago, and I invested in both. I finished off a Hunter fleet, a Hunter design that Mark gave me ages ago, and then the Fangs I purchased that were on sale. So I thought, right, I'll get these quickly together so I can take part in upcoming TLCs, and then I still can't take part in them anyway because Kixo sold me a fucking shit build, you know. So I don't know. Basically, I'm probably going to be out of TLCs until after this cycle. You know, because they're locking them. They seem to be. Why are they locking everything behind Fangs? They locked Hydras behind Fangs, so why not lock this one behind Hunters? Give us a chance. Do you know what I mean? Or just make the targets so both work. Do you know what I mean? Like, why does it have to be a Fang Tooth fleet required? Why can't it be use Fang Tooth or Hunters? I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, there's a lot of players that are in the same situation, and I sincerely hope that, you know, Kix thinks about this, you know, with people trying to complete their fleets and getting all their armors and that kind of stuff. There, you know, the ability to get both of those fleets done and on time. You know, when we've seen multiple instances where, you know, you could copy the TLC and make one the Hunter with the Hunter high level target on it, and one the Fang with the Fang high level target in it. And because, as said, blocking somebody from progressing just makes it for a cranky pirate, and they're not going to want to invest in the game. Yep,
it is what it is, and unless they change something, they are doing themselves a disservice, I do believe. And actually, you're also doing us a disservice. And people vote with their feet or their base. Right, okay, let's have a look at the FM updates. We're moving on to this section now. So there are 3 items in prize pool 5. There are these bizarre looking dedicated specific adjustments to obviously your engine, or you know, in replacements to the engine. Bonus combat speed is nice, turn speed's good, you know, ballistic defense is for one, radioactive defense is for the other. You can't combine the two. That's what I was hoping. Can you stack these? I don't think you can, because obviously you have a super fast fleet, so that's probably not possible. Not having looked at the FM or even had a chance to log on the game yet. And then this tactical insulator, which is a different version to the TAC mod. It's supposedly giving you evade instead. It's 6% heavier than the previous one. It's got slightly better build time, but we still don't know if it's going to work.
And yeah, I was going to say, it just confuses me even more.
Well, yeah. I can only assume that these are like if you're running 3Cs on, you know, 3Cs charged, and you can put the radioactive resistors. I guess it's options just to bring up your resistance levels a little, but a bit lazy on the graphics team, isn't it? They've just basically repainted the old picture and
got a squiggle.
Yeah. I do wish it was a limit of 10, not 5, because again, you're limiting people's creativity on what they want to do and how they want to bias their builds.
Well, just be careful with that though, because you have to now claim one item before you can claim a chest. Does that mean that if you're only doing one of these a week because you're grinding up to the thing, does that mean that now you have to claim one of those before you can get the token? So it's not 3 new items.
Damn.
It's actually 11 new items and about 7.5 million points more to clear all of them out in addition to that. And, oh, by the way, it's got to all be done before the end of next month, so that you can stay caught up.
Okay, hang on, just 1 minute. Just notice it's up there, and it's something that Robin clicked, and I haven't actually looked. Like I said, I haven't had a chance to log in yet. But the points for the tactical insulator at 1.3. Okay, so there is a bit of a creep in the points required, and they'll just say, "Oh, that's the value we put against the item." Okay, I know I have heard that before, but notice that nothing seems to be going down; it's all going up. So it's a 1.3 now for the ceiling.
Yeah, and in addition to that, and thank you, Serena, for sending me the screenshot because my ninja search skills failed me. the rest of the prizes or token prices and in some areas also seem to be creeping up as well. I'm looking at a screenshot where the one-day ship build token was 150,000, and today that is now 200,000. So we're seeing an increase in prices, and again unannounced. So pay attention to that.
I think Forsaken missions in themselves are just a bit, they've become a bit silly now, more of a farce. I don't like the system at all. But on a separate note, one thing I was unhappy about seeing is limited prizes in the Forsaken missions. I do like these new prizes. I think they're great, but I do not like the idea of limited stuff and having to collect certain amounts.
It's a very sneaky way because, like you say, I don't know yet, and I've not looked at it yet. So does that mean you can just get that the once and it's locked, and then you have to go and get the chest, or does that mean you can get 5 of these radioactive, which is a real good encouragement to make people take tons of damage?
I don't know, and I'm happy to see. Oops, sorry.
Sorry, I did actually see Kixeye reply on a comment. I cannot remember where I've seen it, where they said you can collect 1 hydro resistor and then you can collect a chest.
Yeah, I get that,
yes.
But can you then collect the other 4? Because there's no point putting 1 on one ship and not on the others. You've got an imbalanced fleet.
No. Well,
You've got to then go and wait 5 weeks. Well, we haven't got 5 weeks for the next raid. So you need to be able to get them all. But then that's encouraging people. That's also another issue. I'd rather have it in the TLC. Oh, I don't know. Maybe it's not. So long as you can get 1 and then go and get your token. If your chest, and if you want to do 4 more, but if you can't, you're gonna have a completely imbalanced fleet. So make sure. I'm hoping the mechanic's right. That's all.
Where does it end? I mean, you've got limited armors, you've got limited specials. We've got some limited weapons. I mean, is this just going to keep escalating and escalating to the point that you've got to win each individual slot for the ship separately before you can even build it? Do you know what I mean? It's just I don't like limited tech. I never have.
Well, then that goes all the way back to the charged R in the raid. I mean, we only got 5.
Well, speaking of charge, one of the things that if you remember when the Cobra Scatter gun came out, the original hydraulic resistors and agility 4, I think it was, everybody was like, "Oh my God, limited things! Why can't we put them in the FM?" And Kick's response was that these would never be in the FM because they could not code to them. Now, they've obviously now shown that they can with this new format, that they can code to them. And so I would have much preferred to see things like, the X and the M armor that lower levels and people catching up really need to be, limited items that are in there.
Why isn't X and M in tier 3?
Exactly. So we now know that they can put them in there. I'm not saying I like it, but if we do have to live with it, then let's think about the people that are, trying to stay with the game and let them get to tier 5 where they can get these new shiny things and do fun things with them. Let's put that armor in there that, even if it's 1 a week.
Well, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Also, the armor from if we're now in a new cycle, then the armor from the last cycle should be in there, and that goes back to the whole fangs in the TLC thing. If I had armors I could get to fit them out properly, maybe I'd be able to compete. You know what I mean?
Okay, so I actually want to bring this up real quick because Laredo just posted a thing. Kixeye had a meeting, and there was this list of stuff they covered, and it was essentially most of the stuff that's on our list and stuff that we've sent into them. But I see one thing in there that kind of really worries me: countermeasure issue.
Is this public?
It's in our chat. And I don't know that there was a countermeasure issue in the raid. I'm kind of curious about that.
No, I don't know.
I hope that better not change. Like if they're thinking of changing or fixing or countering our countermeasure ideas, or don't touch that crap, guys. Leave it alone. What countermeasure issue? Did anybody have a problem with countermeasures?
We took enough damage as it was.
Yeah, I mean. If you wanted to auto, I needed those. I loaded up on sprints because if I was autoing with the auto hull, I was still sitting in fire fields, for crying out loud.
And ballistic damage from the turrets was hitting you.
I hope that means that they're going to actually get it to better accuracy, but I have a feeling that's not what that means. That worries me a lot.
Well, did you see the video of the guy with 2 hydras auto in the hydra campaign? That's the skill hull auto in the hydra campaign.
But he's built early, spent early, on a hull and that sort of stuff, and he's invested.
No, I agree, but I don't think that was intended, and I imagine they're going to try and do something to change that. I hope they don't mess with counters. I'll be fucking. Sorry, excuse my French.
Do you,
be angry if they do.
Do
as
you
well.
think it's maybe tied to that the Sprint wasn't firing at the missile, and you think maybe it's tied to that?
Maybe. But I mean, we asked about that in the first day, and no one said anything in the forums or anything.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay. It might be.
We're going to move on. Okay, so there we go. That's the Price Pool 5. Price Pool 4 then, a quirky Voyager CIC for this new communion hull. Okay, it's got some interesting statistics on this one here. So you are losing, obviously, remember I said about the capabilities. So if you're going to go up in defense, you go down in damage. Now the expedition payout bonus is 15%. That's an unusual thing to have. Do you think so?
I don't like that.
That's a random thing, isn't it? So
yeah. I mean, I like it, but I don't like it that it's tied to a CIC.
Yeah, it's random, isn't it? I mean, used for expeditions, the Forsaken are able to identify and extract even more resources.
They need to overhaul the expeditions first before they stop messing with this kind of silliness.
I find that really random.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a little weird.
And it's an additional stack too. Even though it says
ship, because I'm not going to call this a generous because it's a seed ship. It's got
so that would be base parts, right?
I take it it's base parts.
That's the one that does work.
Well, it works for ironclads anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Enjoy. Somebody fit it and tell us all about it, because I won't be.
I got too much other stuff to build.
Exactly. I haven't got enough bags. Right. I didn't want to do this now. I've got to. Okay. This is going to go on a little bit longer now, isn't it? So, TAC mod adjustments, base defense. Okay, then. So, look, I'm not going to go for all that garbage. You can read it on the screen while we're talking, okay? But basically, something had to happen, and it has happened yet again, though. Going back to my previous, 30 seconds rant. Why couldn't they told us this 3 weeks ago and give us time to prepare? So they've brought something out today as a black and white switch. The lights are on, the lights are off. Okay, so here we go. TAC module stacking now has been completely overhauled. There are certain things you can do and certain things you can't do. It's as simple as that. No notification. It just happened today.
Yeah, and I think Robin mentioned it earlier. If you're caught already in a build that's like 2 weeks, because some of those things take more than 14 days if you don't have the base parts for it to put on.
Screwed for bounty already.
You're screwed. Yeah, I mean you are already screwed. And honestly, I mean, if I take the gut reaction off and look at it, okay, yeah, it'll make it easier to balance PvP. Yeah, that's fine. I understand that. The problem is why didn't you tell us a week or two ahead of time so that way we knew to at the very least, have everything open so we could actually react. But
so
anyway,
yeah. So these things here, basically, yeah, it's bad. Okay, but so trying to keep it as simple as we possibly can. The stacking effect. So there's a limit of 1, a limit of 3, and a limit of 5. So these are around a turret. So if you stack these things around a turret, that turret's only going to be affected by one of these items. Does that make sense, George? The way that's done?
Yep.
Yes. Yeah, I actually like the slide a lot.
Makes no sense.
You need to post that on the page.
Okay, yeah, so there we go. If you have a turret, I'll change this and I'll put a turret in the center of that cross. Okay, so you have a turret that's in the middle of that cross. You can have 5 of the fire support ones. You can have 1 of the, say the KB1, and then you can have 3 of something like the combined defense sort of stuff. And that's it. That is your limit. Anything else you stack around there, no matter how many buildings you've got, it just doesn't do anything at all. You're just wasting your time. That sort of allows for a little bit more imaginative base design because you haven't got to then cluster everything together. But the problem is, the issue at the moment is that now things like the secondary effect on obviously chaos mortars, not chaos mortars, sorry, epic cats mortars are no longer going to help you with certain ships coming into your base. So at the moment, for those stuck in long adjustments to their turret tops, putting on some of those really expensive adjustments like the epic cat mortar and that stuff, which is a huge build, even if you have got base parts. We're stuck in a cycle where, yeah, thank you very much. You've told us basically that, here we go, look, this is free, okay, to make your adjustments, go play, have fun. It's free up until the next update, which is the 30th. It's not free because it's the 17th, and most people that are doing hard work to their bases are adjusting their turrets and turret tops and that sort of stuff, and they've probably got at least 15 days to go, and that's all that time there, all of it. So those that are doing nothing in their base, feel free, you can chop around all your attack modules and just keep moving around and it's not going to cost you a penny. Those individuals that are doing long-term adjustments are stuffed.
Yep.
Tell us this 3 weeks ago, or when you release this today, everybody's adjustment they were making should have been just done for nothing and just take the hit Kixeye, which was Robin's idea.
Well, it's happened. We can't change that. It could have happened a lot better. The transition could have been eased. I mean, how hard would it have been for them to just, before the update, so nobody could take advantage of it, anybody that had an equip going, finish that equip so that everybody was at the same place. First thing to think about is, TSM and I were talking about this earlier. If you've got a turret that you've not only used base parts, I mean, we know new base parts aren't going to be in there, but what if you used your 5 tokens from the raid that you spent points getting?
Which is what I did.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't want to cancel that. Yes, you can still do it towards the end of January, but we've got a bounty coming up soon, and so people are not going to waste those 10 days worth of tokens on a 26 or 20-day upgrade or what have you. So that could have been handled better, I think. The one positive that does come out of this for the folks who maybe not pay attention to a lot of their base because they're focusing on the FM or things like that, these are essentially free. It's one of each res. It's also 0 base parts. And so if you've got a lot of naked turrets that are sitting out there that that you're going to work on, use your warehouses, upgrade your build, get your building tactical mods done, because this is essentially free for you. And so I did some testing, and it's not based on if you had something on there already. If you have a building that has nothing on there and you put one of these on, then yes, it's going to be that free time. So take advantage of it.
Just go and put TAC modules on everything.
Yeah. Even if you don't understand them, just stick them on.
Just stick them on. Just stick them on.
Fill it up.
They don't have to be near turrets. Just put things on.
Maybe the worst base builder in the world, but don't worry about it.
Yeah. Well, and that's an interesting point. I think your slide will help TSM, but there are plenty of people who help that are out there. Read the blueprint. If you still have questions, ask on the page. People will be happy to help you figure it out.
Yeah. Can I want to just pop in real quick. Laredo kind of did a clarification about the CM thing. He said that he thinks the CM thing had to do with sprints not firing when they should have and tridents not firing when they should have in the targets. So we'll see. Hopefully that's what it is, because now I'm paranoid.
On that as of yet, so we'll not take that forward as of now. We'll see what comes.
I'll stay paranoid for now.
Okay. No worries. Right, so we've done that one then. So I think this is the last one, to be honest. So balance and bug fixing in the game. Okay, so fix an issue where Zoe's Gamble mobile displays an infinite load spinner. Oh, that must be really annoying. During the prize redemption period, that prevented players from redeeming the prize. And one I've heard of in chat as well, which is not being released, is people having problems fixing their ships after an engagement and they're not fixing properly. So I don't know if that's been fixed, sorted or not, but I've just seen a couple of people in chat talking about that. Nobby, for a start, as in my brother. So cheers, buddy, for that. And several people reported the same thing. So if there's anything else that's going on, then just let us know about it, obviously, on the page. But that's all we've got so far. And that is it for slides.
Yay.
Yeah, good.
That actually wasn't, given how much stuff we had, that was not that bad.
Not that bad at all. We have run a little bit over that. You mind if I, just for a minute, TSM, there's something I wanted to announce for next week.
Yes.
GDR is going to be coming on the show next week. Hey, he's going to be coming on to discuss PvP, which will obviously be the week prior to Bounty starting. So it'll be interesting. I know he's got some information for us that he wants to discuss regarding upcoming PvP in 2018 and some of the plans they have for it, and some of the Tier 7 PvP content that's going to be coming. He also has some slides that he is going to discuss with TSM and work into our slides for the show. And he'll be coming on for 1 full hour. So looking forward to that. And for anyone that's into your bounty and your PvP, tune in to Tuesday's show, because we should hopefully have a good one.
Yeah, it should be a good one. You know, a person that we have a good kinship with and that sort of stuff. You know, he's the man that's proper excited about playing in the game and that sort of stuff and developing the cool stuff. Remember your Skyfires? So we're a good supporter of everything he's done to date. You know, and we like having him on the show. So we look forward to having him in next week, which will be good fun as it always is, because he always comes on for a little bit of a roasting, but you know, he takes it with a great pinch of salt, and he knows, you know, we're always friends at the end of the day. So and that's the way we like to keep it. So like I said, so you know, we're here just to remind you guys, we're here to deliver you the content. You decipher it as you see fit. If you want to carry on playing, you carry on playing. If you do something else, then that's your decision. However, we don't do pitchforks. We'll say we don't like something, but we don't promote, you know, don't play the game and all that sort of stuff. That's not our business. We're not here for that. We just tell you what's going on. You decide how you want to vote with your feet. Simple as that. If you want to close your wallet, close your wallet. If you want to keep it open and spend a fortune, Liam, please feel free to do so.
If you want to close your legs, close your legs. No? I mean,
that's 3 times tonight, mate. All right.
I've got. So, am I adding to the swear jar now?
You are. Yes. Mind you saying that, no, because you actually
swear jar. It's a 55-gallon drum now.
You did fork out all the coinage actually for those banner prizes. So actually, I'll let you off these ones tonight.
That was the swear jar from last year that I used to.
Oh yeah. Then you've already doubled it for this year, all right?
This year the price is going to be massive this year. And, no, I mean, the thing is, you know, we've seen some changes this week already with PvP, you know, the TAC modules and stuff, and a lot of us are cursing and we're not sure what's going on, but GDR coming on next week, he may have some information that might make some of this make a bit more sense to us, you know? I mean, we don't know what's coming in Bounty. We don't know some of the T7 stuff that's coming, so perhaps having Kicks on the show to shed a bit of light on that is really going to alleviate a lot of people's concerns and maybe actually let us understand a little bit as to why that's going on. So,
yeah. As long as he comes with a bucket load of turret tokens so he can finish my token off.
I'm going to make him swear live.
But you don't.
I'll ask him something that'll make him swear.
Right. Close the board then, just closing off. George, anything to close?
No. I mean, I'm just hoping the communication gets a little bit better, because I think that probably would have softened all of this. Other than that, you know, I hope everyone has a good night and good luck in Bounty and VXP and whatever else we're going to be seeing.
We'll talk more before then. Anyway, that's good. Robin?
You know, just to thank you. As much as we do on the page wouldn't be what it is without the players. So those of you that took the time to make the videos on the raid and share them with us and with your tips and tricks, thank you very much. And please keep doing it. There were a lot of people that were actually able to do their raid because of it.
Liam?
No, yeah, not much to add. You know, it was a rough few days, but you know, we've seen worse. Let's just plod on and keep going.
I'll just say Grecian 2000.
Yeah, we're going to post. We're going to post the link.
Mark, at least I've still got hair. Okay.
I don't need it, mate. I'm married.
We're going to post the link to Liam's stream later on, right?
Yeah, I'm going to be streaming Prize Pack 2 with my fangs.
With as many swear words as you can in between.
It's going to be a 6-hour stream, because that's how long it's going to take me to do it.
And 7,000 coins.
Mark's going to come on and do a bit for me as well.
Oh, that's normal.
Yeah, someone's going to hack my account midstream, but we'll get there.
Yeah, so that's. I just want to close on one point, if you wouldn't mind, and a bit of not serious point, but I just want to say thanks to all those people, fresh people as well, including like Raina, who leads a very large alliance, came on with a lovely, level-headed appreciation of how things are in the game, how it is for her alliance, that sort of stuff. You know, Venom was on there as well, taking from
Terry.
opposing. Terry was on there as well. So all these opposing big alliances and that sort of stuff, but actually coming on and chatting together just like players and looking out for each person at all different levels. And I really liked that the weekend. That was an excellent show. I genuinely enjoyed that one. And that's the sort of thing I like to do. And that's why we do the TFC. Simple as that. Okay, on that note then, I'll just say thanks everybody. Enjoy your week. Enjoy, obviously, getting some prizes out of the FM and get those tokens, and enjoy VXP. And we'll see you on Saturday, if not before. Take care. Good night.
Night.
Night, everybody.